Well, then, good evening and welcome everybody to a special session of Philly by Night. Many of you probably don't know me, but my name is Kosin. I go by DM Professor Kosin on TikTok, STS Kosin on Twitch, and Strength Through Solidarity on Twitter. With me tonight, I have an amazing staff of fellow storytellers who have kindly asked me to volunteer to run their session tonight, as well as also some absolutely lovely players that are here to, give an interesting experience tonight. Uh, Tonight for Philly by Night, our session is titled "Blood in the Boardroom." Before we continue on, though, let's do some quick introductions here. We'll start actually with the ST staff because we should definitely get to know who they are and who they're playing tonight. So we'll start with the man who started it all, the one who is the most problematic of everybody, one Einar.
Hi, everybody. I'm Einar. You can find me anywhere at Einar_TTRPG. And if you can't find me, I'm not there. Tonight, I will be playing Prince Sexton, newly crowned Prince of Philadelphia.
Now we'll move on to the man who is behind the screen in the chair, doing all the hard work, playing with all the buttons and whatnot. Darth Costas over here.
Hey everybody, it's me again. You might be sick of seeing me this week, but we don't care. I'm kidding, we do. Hey, I'm Darth Caustic. I'm Ryan. You guys have seen me run the Neonate streams. You've seen me do some special cross the table plays like we did yesterday, right, Kit? And tonight I'm going to be playing two different Ventrue. First, Hades Artemis, the sire to one Persephone Marinos, as well as a bit of a comfort character of my own creation, Lysander Orthos, servitor to Justicar de Padua, and a general menace of not fitting in with his own clan.
Mm-hmm. And then we'll go over to the fledgling storyteller, the one who is keeping track of all of the little ones that wander around in Philly.
Hi, I am Kendall, Kendall NS on TikTok, and I am the fledgling storyteller for Philly by Night. I will be playing Anastasia Belikova of Clan Ventrue and Lictor to the Northeast Stratajoy.
And then last, but certainly not least, when it comes to our illustrious storytelling staff, we will go on to the mysterious one, the one who's hidden in the shadows, the one who has an agenda for Philly that is not known to many except for the ST staff.
Hi there, I'm G'day Effects. Most of you probably recognize me from the Emissaries table here on Philly by Night. I am G'day Effects anywhere I want you to find me. If you find me anywhere that is not under that name, go away. I don't want you there. And tonight I will be playing Ms. Frances Dillard.
Yay.
The Chancellor Herald for the Court of Philadelphia.
Absolutely. And like I said, my name is Kosin. I am the Kitsune on the Mount, the wise goober who basically supports the entire storytelling staff, making sure that they're mind their P's and Q's, and also takes care of all the little lore bits and things like that when they absolutely need me. However, this staff very rarely needs me because they know what they're doing and they are all excellent storytellers in their own right. And the fact of the matter that they have asked me up onto this stage in order to facilitate this story is quite the honor. And I thank you all for the opportunity. I tonight will be playing any extraordinary or any additional Ventrue, but the two primary that I am playing tonight is Primogen and Praetor Ansel Quirky. of Clan Ventrue, and also Gavin Dressler of Clan Ventrue, the adopted sire to one Louisa Songbird Polini. Now that the storytellers have had their chance to get their introductions out of the way, now we go to the important people of this session, the players. The players, will start with, we'll go from oldest to youngest for this particular instance here. And by oldest to youngest, I mean character ages. And we'll start with you there.
All right. My name's Kit. Kitsune underscore charms on TikTok, where I do have lots of Thomas content. I play Thomas Pierce, also known as Thomas Petrelli, a newcomer to Philly. We'll see what kind of effect he has, impressions he makes on the directorate here.
And next.
Hi, I'm Katie. I go by Dragon of the Dark Rose on all socials that I have. I also play Sage the Ghoul on New Arc by Night every other Monday. And I will be playing Louisa Songbird Polini, a descendant of Lodin.
And finally.
Hi, I'm Ink, Cowboy Ink on all socials, and I'll be playing Persephone Percy Marinos, descendant of Orthea and child of Hades.
Welcome all players. Welcome storytellers who are playing SPCs. Before we continue on here, I do have the content warnings that I do like to read out loud in this instance here. But once that's all said and done, we will get into the meat of the story. But also remember, before I go on any further, we play monsters on TV or on stream here, but we don't need to be monsters in real life. Following content warnings are for the Blood in the Boardroom Ventrue Directorate scene. Acts and allusions towards violence and torture, both physical and psychological. Alcohol and drug use. Allusions towards BDSM and kink dynamics, non-specific. Blood bonds and both consensual and non-consensual. Body horror. Foul language and swearing. Harsh voices and verbal corrections. Homelessness and poverty. Manipulation and gaslighting, political and religious extremism, psychological trauma, sexual acts, content and themes, non-explicit and fading to black, starvation, and the use and abuse of mental disciplines, both dominate and presence. You've all been warned. I'd like to start off with a poem, if I may. City in the Dark by Daniel Pace. In a city of murderers, crooks, and thieves, where cavalry and honor long past beliefs, a man walks alone in an expression of stone. He saw the cruelty in the world, the shattered dreams of boys and girls. He looked to the corpses on the ground and suffering in all the masses all around. He saw panic, desperation, and more. The wickedness of man that struck the world at its core. A man looked, but shed not a tear, at the cries of people, bloodlust and fear. He looked to the grimy, blood-stained streets, into a future that looked so bleak. In streets if anguished, with many lives gone, a man just walks and carries on. Then he did something not seen in a great while. He looked about him and began to smile. For he is a light in the tunnel of dark, where the taint of evil had not yet left its mark. For in a world of people struggling to cope, he acts as a blazing beacon of hope. Whatever he touches becomes infinitely blessed. He is no god nor angel, he is less. He is only a man standing alone who entered in darkness with an expression of stone. But with this man was hopeful and stayed as such, as he blessed the suffering with only his touch. A man brought life back into the world, revived the dreams for all the good boys and girls. He buried the corpses upon the ground and brought back life around. And when the world looked too horrid to cope, the man showed the people how to love and how to hope. His essence lingered there in hope that he had shown as a man walked to the next town still alone with an expression of stone. It is Monday, June the 10th of 2024. The sun will set itself behind the Philly horizon at 8:29 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. It's a clear night tonight in Philly. 66 degrees, light wind, barely any feeling of humidity. The wind sweeps in from the west, carrying not a bit of rain or frost. Of course, it wouldn't at this particular time of year. It's in the beginning of June. Summer is not quite here. A waxing crescent moon hangs high in the skies above Philly. What limited light it shines goes down across the city. Philly is the city of brotherly love. But not much love happens here. People are cruel, people are mean, people are short-sighted. They are only human. Below do they ever know the fact of the matter that in the shadows of boardrooms, in alleyways, sitting across from you at the bar, maybe even part of your speed dating club, real monsters sit amongst them. We'll start with our babies, if we will. Miss Polini, Songbird,
Yes.
how are we doing tonight?
We're doing pretty good. We're excited yet nervous because new city, new boardrooms. Probably while waiting for the sires to wake up, got dressed and then was nervously polishing all the firearms in the boathouse.
As you roused from your day's sleep, how did your hunger go?
I am still at one hunger.
Interesting. Hunger is strange for one such as yourself, isn't it? Sometimes it can be a little uncomfortable. Sometimes it can be something that just resides in the back of your mind. You're new to it. It's something that you haven't quite acclimated to, even in the 5 years that you have been kindred. But there's something about your hunger that is different, probably in comparison to most. The fact of the matter that you thirst for very particular blood. And we're not talking about your particular predilections because you are Ventrue, but your thirst for a particular person. Your hunger is low tonight, but the edge is still there. The thoughts kind of itching at the back of your head. You're nowhere near the need to actually refill that, but underneath the circumstances here, it would just be nice to have him nearby, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it would be really nice to have him here tonight.
But your sires, oh, well, not your sires, your broodmates have taken you away from him, and you're all the way over in Philly, and he's all the way over in Chicago. How does that really make Louisa feel?
I mean, they did what they had to do to keep me alive. I mean, I did mess up really, really bad.
Yeah. But I mean, if they really cared, don't you think they would have tried to do something to help out so you didn't have to leave?
Yeah, maybe.
Intrusive thoughts are funny that way. They can be low and they can be loud. Tonight they're low. As you busy yourself getting yourself ready for the evening, you'll see the door open up to the main bedroom of the boathouse that you share with your basically of your keepers, and you'll see Gavin make his way out. He's got, button-down shirt, the tie, the tweed vest, the coat over his arm. He is dressed to the nines. His hair is done, and he looks like that he is ready to go. He's got a stone expression on his face, betraying no hint of emotion. But he looks over at the table where you're currently polishing your guns, and he will get a look of concern, and he'll make his way over. As he comes over, he'll kind of place a hand very delicately on top of yours, and he's like, keep polishing like that, you're going to take the gold finish right off.
Oh, should I stop then?
You should never stop polishing. Got to make sure that they're presentable when you're using them, right?
Mhm.
You okay?
I mean, it's a new city, and well, everyone's been talking about El Principe fasting, so I don't know how on edge he's going to be, and I don't know if I should bring that up because, well, Prince Jackson wasn't Mithraean. He wasn't, right?
No, he wasn't.
Okay.
The best thing that you can do is remember your etiquette.
Mhm.
You don't call attention to things that don't need to be called attention to. It never hurts to be polite. Use your titles as you know them. And you have very sweet nicknames for people, sweetie. But tonight you probably want to hold off on them, okay?
Okay.
And additionally, on top of that, when it comes to the prince, you don't have to worry about him. I'll make sure to take care of you, okay? And besides, you really won't have to worry about him. Mithraeans supposedly protect fledglings, right?
I'm not worried about him in that way. I just hope with everything going on in the city, it's not ruining his fasting.
Well, that is... He's an older kindred. I imagine that he's built up a little bit of a way to handle those kind of things. At least one would hope. Otherwise, well, it'd make for a very poor fasting period for him.
Yeah.
So, he'll reach into his pocket. There's a jingle, and he'll pull out his keys.
She's
You wanna
instantly
drive?
pulling on her driving gloves.
You want to drive tonight?
Mhm.
All right. Well, driver gets to choose music. Passenger shuts his cake hole and he hands you the keys.
Katie did not prepare a song for this, and Kosin's usually better at that, so we'll just say whatever song Kosin says is the song Songbird picks and drives off.
We're going to go with Surfing Bird. How about that?
Yay.
So as Gavin and Songbird roar off into the night, driving in his Hudson Hornet, belting at the top of their lungs, basically Surfing Bird, we'll move on to our next fledgling. Percy.
Yes.
Percy, you woke up hungry tonight, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
And how is Percy adjusting to their hunger?
She's been a fledgling for a couple of years. She's adjusted pretty well. She rather enjoys the hunt. Typically, it's almost got a little bit messy for a
That
second,
is true.
but she managed to pull it back. She managed to keep control.
But how did it make her feel in the end? I mean, she came very, very close to targeting somebody that, underneath the circumstances, is not within her particular palette.
I mostly frustrated. See, it's not the first time. She has had recent experience with attempting to eat outside of her palate. So she's mostly frustrated with herself. She feels like she could do better. Feels like she could live up to her sire's expectations better.
Yeah, of course. Well, let's check in with those expectations, shall we? You're fresh off of the hunt. You're sated as best as it can be, but your beast is not completely quiet. A little bit of that itch is still back there, the crawling under the skin, the twisting of the gut. Your beast wanting a bit more, but you only take what is necessary. Melanoa walks beside you, regal, holding her head high. She kind of sniffs eagerly at your leg, kind of rubs against it as the two of you return back to the haven. And as you return back to the haven, lo and behold, somebody is currently waiting there for you. And who would be waiting for them at this instance as they walk in?
The eldest of his bloodline in this city, Hades Artramus, dressed in his fine black suit with the subtle reds poking through, is waiting. Having the last words they shared been some of probably the more uplifting ones that Percy has ever heard out of him. She managed to squeak a good job out of Hades, but after her hunt, he would have had the two outfits laid out that on our server, Ink has already chosen one for Percy. So after she kind of went, changed, and came back, giving a nod of approval, his tone would lower and just, I know that you struggle with your impulsivities, Persephone. But of all nights, tonight is not the night for that. You will meet the board as they're standing. You must toe the line. Even your brash uncle knows when to step in line for these things.
Yes, Mr. Artemis, sir.
Good. Now let us go. We do not want to keep the prince nor the praetor waiting on us. And he would lead Percy out to his vehicle and take them in to the Pyramid Club.
All right. And then last but certainly not least in this instance here, Mr. Pierce. Well, we had a very interesting rise this evening, did we not?
Yep.
As you rose from your day's sleep into this new night, you were ravenous, weren't you?
Yep. More than usual.
You've done this particular high holy holiday before, haven't you? Participated in previous blood equinoxes?
Yes.
Has it always been this hard for Thomas, or something different about this time?
In the beginning, yeah, but change of location and the stress of everything might have made a difference.
Absolutely. It's understandable, right? Like, not everything can be not everything is black and white. Sometimes they're shades of gray, right?
Sometimes.
Sometimes. You went out hunting tonight. Why don't you share with how that hunt went for Thomas?
Well, successful in finding his particular flavor of snack. A little too successful. A little too successful on feeding, but did not frenzy. And did not realize what we had chosen for dinner.
Underneath the circumstances, there's an aspect of all of this that just sometimes the coin is going to fall where it's going to fall. Bad luck happens to everybody. But this is different for Thomas, isn't it? This hits differently.
And it does.
The question is that tonight is an important night. It's the first directorate meeting in this new city, getting himself introduced to a whole bunch of new Ventrue. And in that moment, how is Thomas going to present himself tonight? What is he going to do in order to... Is he going to fight down what it is that he just went through? Try to wear it, in the deep, darkest parts of him? Or is he going to... Or is he... how is he going to manage that?
He's probably going to hold on to it until later when he can deal with it. He needs to be present and in the moment for the meeting.
Well, you want to do me a favor then, Thomas? We'll have you do our first roll for the night. I would like a composure plus subterfuge roll, if you would, please. Make sure to account for your current hunger. You obviously, if you wish, if you have like a masking specialty or anything of those, anything like that, you may add that. Of course, if you need the blood surge, you're more than welcome to do that if you want to risk it for the biscuit. But go ahead and roll that and let me know what your total is.
There is nothing I can do with that. And that was a big fat 0.
All right. You're pretty sure that you got something of a mask on tonight. You take in that deep, unnecessary breath. You put on the stone face. You do what you need to do. You're going to get through this. Everything's going to be fine. He was a kid, Thomas.
He was the same age as Thomas when he was trying to take care of his brother.
So, find your Impala, get yourself buckled in and drive off?
I haven't actually gotten around to getting the headlights fixed.
Oh. So does he want to grab up a Uber or maybe hitch a ride with somebody?
He's probably taking Uber.
Unfortunately, I didn't hear that. Could you repeat that?
Oh, yeah, he'll take an Uber.
Okay. So, from there, the three of you, with your respective sires or by yourself in an Uber, find yourself driving across, find yourself getting across Philadelphia. Philadelphia is a massive city. It's been around for what feels like forever. It's a mainstay of the West Coast or the East Coast of the United States, birthplace of a revolution. So many men and women died here for a nation that they had no idea what it would grow into. Many founding fathers called this place a home, or at least a place that they could come to discuss ideas of freedom and equality. It's a city that has seen so much history. As you traverse its streets, whether if you're the one driving, like in, for instance, you Songbird, or you riding along with your sire there, Percy, or you in the back of the Uber, you get to see what makes Philly Philly. You see its city streets, its alleyways, its sidewalks. Philly's not clean. Streets are rattled. They do their best, just like any other city would. You can see people that lurk in the alleyways, hurting, in need of something. Who knows whether or not if they'll ever receive it, but it is evident to see that this is a city that, like many others across the United States, it struggles. And as much as maybe you might be a bleeding heart normally, or maybe you're not, who knows? Your beast revels in such things. They're all prime targets. Your predator, their prey. The city is ripe for the taking. You are kings. You do not lead from the back, you take from the front. Sword and scepter. So much of kindred society has been built by the hands of Ventrue over the centuries, nay, millennia. The founder of your bloodline, the founder of your clan, was the favorite of Cain himself, if you believe in such mysteries and mythologies. Regardless of the fact, when it comes to the greater story of the Ventrue, the city is made for you and for the taking. You arrive at one of the most beautiful of clubs here in Philly, a place that is a social club. It's not a nightclub. It's not a bar or anything as such. This is a place where decisions get made, where men and women who are worth multiple millions of dollars come in. They sit behind in boardrooms and in at conference tables. They have luncheons and they have discussions. There are places to sit with fancy drinks and hors d'oeuvres that are served. There's a baby grand piano that sits there where you can have somebody tickling the ivories, playing whatever type of music it is that might be going on. It's not a place that normal people get to come into. It's high society. It's nice wood paneling, good carpet, wonderful smells. One by one, you all will arrive on site. You will find a valet that will essentially take your vehicle and basically validate your parking, allowing you to exit your vehicle as it's taken away. And of course, you there, Thomas, are dropped off at front. Percy and Louisa, you two know each other, obviously. You're part of a coterie together. You're even maybe even becoming friends. Your sires are currently with you at this particular point in time. And you would see that there's a Uber that has come up, and has dropped off another individual. And seeing as it is, I'm fairly certain that Thomas has not met Louisa or Percy, and vice versa.
Has met Percy.
Oh, you have met Percy. You just haven't met
Yeah.
Louisa yet.
I don't know if Thomas was in Chicago within that 5-year period.
As early as last year.
Yeah.
He left last year.
So then he might know of Songbird.
Probably has not met you, but probably would know the man that's currently standing right next to Songbird, which you would know as Dressler, somebody who you've worked with before in Chicago. A hitman for a very nasty individual that has, well, supposedly he specializes in taking down kindred. And of course, obviously, you've met Percy there, but Louisa, Dressler, or basically Gavin will kind of motion over towards Thomas, and he'll lean in very quietly and say, "That's Pierce. You remember the guy I used to Oh, what?
Storyteller. Chicago is Petrelli.
Petrelli, right. Sorry.
Mm-hmm.
So he'll lean over and he'll say, "That's Petrelli, the one that I used to work with on occasion." Okay?
She'll nod and then like mutter under her breath just quietly enough, like a tune, so she can mentally try and remember everyone.
At this particular moment, you guys all make your way inside. Once you're in the club, there are bodyguards that are currently present. Gentlemen in dark suits, very evidently carrying some sort of hardware underneath their coats. You're watched very carefully as you enter into the building. Eagle eyes on all of you. They don't stop you, though. They just let you proceed forward, not stopped nor searched. Eventually, you'll find yourself at an elevator big enough to basically fit all of you inside. Once you're in, the button is hit by Hades over here for the particular floor that you guys need to go to, and the elevator goes up, up, and up. Eventually, after a moment or two, the door will ding and it will open up, revealing the interior of the Pyramid Club itself. And before you, you will see a vast group of individuals that have kind of congregated around. And I will go forth and we'll start with who it is you see first, starting with the man of the hour himself. Prince Sexton, where would you be at in the main area of the Pyramid Club, and what would you be doing as these 3 fresh faces enter in?
The prince would be kind of rubbing elbows with a few of the other Ventrue that are there, making sure that everybody's settled, comfortable. The board meeting hasn't been called to order yet, so he's basically doing running backup for Ansel, making sure that he's doing his duty as prince and edile of the board.
Okay. Harpy Dillard, where would you be at in the Pyramid Club, and what would you be doing in this instance as you are out as you are amongst your fellow kings?
Oh, well, I hadn't really considered the matter, though I suppose I would be greeting folks. I am one of the more junior of the high ranking.
That is true. That is true. You would most likely be up front there. And there's somebody that's kind of lurking in the background, a bit unassuming and kind of staying out of view, but yet can be seen on occasion. And who that might be that's lurking in the background there, Kendall?
That would be Anastasia Belikova. She would be quietly standing against the wall, having parted from a very quiet conversation with Ansel. She is a woman that's about 5'5", very. She is beautiful, very sharp cheekbones and jawline, dark hair that's pulled back into a ponytail, very pale blue eyes, and with her hands neatly folded in front of her as she looks out to the rest of the board, quiet but watching,
Okay.
an ever present agent of the Stratajoy.
And standing kind of almost like in the direct center, almost like the entirety of the room is revolving around him, is a gentleman that stands about 6'2", dark hair, full beard that is penciled, or that basically is shaped quite well with his jawline and his facial features. He's wearing a midnight blue suit and vest that's underneath there, sharp shoes. His eyes are eagled as he's just kind of watching as the three of you enter in with your you by yourself there, Thomas, and Percy and Louisa, you guys by your with your sires there. There's no smile on his face, just a man who has an expression of stone. And it's probably the one thing that you would notice about most of the kindred that are currently here is a very acute expression of stone. Well, except for maybe Miss Harpy Dillard. Well, we'll let her decide on how exactly it is as she looks as she greets the three new kindred, or the three new Ventrue, as they're entering into the Pyramid Club.
Are their sires still next to them?
Yes, Dressler, Gavin Dressler is currently nearby Songbird, and Hades would definitely be nearby Percy, unless they decide to move off. I know that Dressler is not going to move off. It'll be up to Hades on whether or not if he is staying nearby Percy.
Percy is not leaving 2 arms length as much as Hades can help it.
Oh, well, it's a pleasure to meet y'all. You will be Ms. Marinos, and you must be Polani?
Yes. That.
Oh, goodness. Neither of you dressed yourselves, did you?
No, I was told that this was more demure compared to what I typically wear.
Oh. Right. And Dillard will step away for a moment and get on her cell phone. She is very clearly hearable. Yes. Left? Yes. It is a code chartreuse. Yes, that means I need the whole case. I know it's heavy, but there are 2 of you. And then she hangs up her cell phone. So, of course, this won't be of much help now, since I'm sure we'll shortly be calling to order. But I will have a couple of gifts for the 2 of you for the next one.
You will get a look from You'll get a look from Gavin of just like, accept the gift. Like that's the look that you get, Songbird.
Songbird is just confused in Italian of, but I don't have a gift to give you in return. But just nods and is like, oh, thank you. I wish I had something to give you in exchange. That's very nice of you.
Percy as well would get the look of, I know, it's weird, just go with it. And I'm sure Percy has gotten this look a lot.
Yes, Percy would definitely have like kind of side-eyed Hades, like, what?
And she just kind of Dillard pulls like a thing of pomade and a comb out of her pocket and just kind of thrusts it at Thomas. You're looking a little rough, Mr. Is it Pierce that we're going with?
For now, ma'am.
Just figured before we got things all put together, you might want to do a little bit of a rustle.
Thank you.
Harpy Dillard, are you going to keep them at the elevator bank the entire evening?
Well, I had considered it, but I suppose if we're ready to get things called to order.
He'll smile in this instance. He says, we'll give them a moment or two to acclimate. Why don't you go ahead and introduce them to the crowd?
Do they not know everyone else in here?
Could. I know that I've been personally introduced to all of them, but there might not be a few of them that they have entirely met. As his eyes will kind of fall primarily on, in this instance here, like Lysander, because honestly, he doesn't know whether or not if they've actually met Lysander, who is currently, or the Spartan. Sorry, my apologies, as he's kind of lurking wherever it is that the Spartan is going to be lurking. Plus, additionally, on top of that, they've all should have been introduced to the prince, but there's yourself and also Belikova as well.
Oh, yeah, sure. I suppose I could introduce them around a bit. Since we haven't met, I am Chancellor Harold Dillard. I serve a couple of roles within the court, as do most of us, really.
Yeah, Songbird.
Pleasure to meet you, Miss Dillard.
Yeah, Songbird will do her little like mental song thing under her breath for Chancellor Harpy Dillard.
This over here, well, mostly he's been going by the Spartan. Is that what we're sticking with in the boardroom? Or
No.
did you want a more proper introduction?
I've met most of you, though some of you may not know it. And if we're going with the face claim that Thomas chose, it's kind of looking into a weird mirror.
I didn't, though. If you check my profile, it is not.
Well, it's fine. I wear it better anyway.
That's so rude.
I thought this was a
Talking about my
boardroom,
car.
not a Toreador meet and greet.
Oh, you've never been in a board meeting. We just do it better.
Boys, you're both pretty. Can we get moving now?
Yeah, he's just dressed in the white suit with the single coupled cloak off one arm. Mr. Pierce, Percy, you I don't know.
Luisa Bolene, or when I'm working, most know me as Songbird.
And which one of the groups do you run with?
Oh, I'm in the same coterie as. And she'll hesitate to call Percy Percy because she's like, etiquette, gotta remember etiquette. I'm in the fledgling coterie.
We'll have a chance to know one another better then.
Okay. And this lovely lady over here is the lictor for our area. Uh, Lictor Anastasia Belakova. Did I get that one right?
Indeed, Chancellor Dillard.
Oh, good.
It is a pleasure to meet the three of you, as well as your sires.
Gavin will come up and he goes through the typical etiquette. He takes any woman's hand, basically does the whole, like, basically bows his head over it, introduces himself as, Gavin Dressler, and will always refer to as either Miss Belikova or Harpy Dillard or anything of that nature. I'm assuming that Hades is also exemplary in his etiquette tonight.
Of course, what? I built him to be the antithesis of somebody else.
I mean,
He's on
that's
his best behavior.
amazing. Would my lovely players like to do something for me real quick? Would the three of you roll for me a charisma plus etiquette roll? If you have any looks merits like beautiful or stunning, you may go ahead and add those. If you want to blood surge in order to give yourself a little boost, you're more than welcome to do that if you want to. And obviously, if you need to spend willpower, superficial willpower damage to reroll any regular dice, you're more than welcome to do so.
You said charisma, etiquette, and looks merits?
Yeah, if you have any.
Okay.
Thomas, man, we gotta boost one of those.
You remember I did at character creation.
Yeah.
Oh, buddy.
It's fine. You should see my coterie try to lie too. Like one
Poor
of them has
coterie.
a skill, and it's
Ooh, not bad.
Oh, I forgot to put in the hunger. Shoot.
Yeah, it's okay. All of you go about the room greeting the others that are here. You're not maybe the best, but you're definitely not dullards. It's very evident that you're practiced. You've been around fellow Ventrue. You know your etiquette. You know how to do the proper handshakes. You know how to greet people by their names and titles. Some of them might even be a little bit on the impress side. But that's, of course, up to every individual person that you greet. Eventually, after Harpy Dillard gets you passed around the room, Primogen Quirky will basically nod at her and say, "Thank you, Harpy Dillard. Appreciate that."
My pleasure, Praetor.
And so we'll step up and he'll kind of look at the assembled lot and he says, "So, this is the first directorate meeting that we have done for the city of Philly since the new regime change. It's a pleasure to see everybody currently present and accounted for." As he kind of sweeps his gaze around, before we start the main event of the actual boardroom meeting, we need to, well, address something actually rather important in this instance here. Mr. Artemis and Mr. Dressler, please step forward if you would. Dressler would step forward along with Artemis, and he says, "You two have taken the accounting for Miss sorry, my apologies here as my brain just suddenly shut down.
That happens.
And it does. It happens to the best of us here. But basically, to address here, wow, can you work for a moment here? Where did that moment when you suddenly lose all your marbles?
For Miss Polini and Marinos.
Yes, thank you. So basically, you are underneath. You have taken accounting for Miss Molini and our Polini and Marinos. Ventrue tradition. Ventrue tradition speaks to a period of time that we take fledglings under our wing. The agoge. It's an ancient practice, one spanning all the way back to the days of Sparta, to ancient Greece. Of course, back then we were training warriors in Punic wars and beyond. We don't train warriors as often as we used to. No, instead we train a different kind of individual. We train kings. He'll kind of look to Percy and then he'll look to Louisa. Tonight, I'd like to officially announce that both of you will be undertaking your agoges with your sires, with those who are in charge of your accounting. You may have been instructed on the specifics of it. You may not have. This is not a regular time of accounting like other clans do. We refine. We do not just train and release you. We make sure that you are perfect, or as least close as that you can be. And once you have reached the approval of your sires or those who accounted for you, and once you have completed the various steps of your agoge, you will be presented before Prince Sexton. And it will be up to him whether or not if you are to be released from your accounting and become proper neonates. This process can take time. In the past, there are some that have been underneath accounting for 150 years. And for others, it can be a lot quicker. And Ansel's gaze will kind of fall upon Louisa and Pierce in this instance, or Thomas in this instance. Regardless of the fact, I am in belief that we are in a modern age. And though we should keep to tradition, and tradition is important, we do not necessarily have to worry about extending time. Of course, obviously, the time frame will be ultimately up to your sires or those who keep your accounting. They will be the final arbiters of whether or not if you are ready to be presented before your prince. But one of the aspects of the agoge that you will participate in is the following. One, I am going to be appointing a mentor to the both of you. Somebody who will be there to give you advice if you ask for it. One who will assist your sires when they are not available to help. And one that will be there as a sort of confidant. One that has recently gone through their own agoge, their own accounting, and has walked out on the other side. Mr. Pierce, would you step forward, please?
Thomas is going to step forward.
As part of recognition for his services here, I am announcing that you are to be given the rank of Questor tonight, Mr. Pierce. You have shown, you're welcome. You have shown a great amount of aptitude. Sure, stumbles may happen, but ultimately in the end, we work towards a better future for our clan. And what better to show to the young than somebody who has the ability to show them where not to stumble? Mr. Pierce will be your mentor, will be mentoring the two of you. You will still do your accounting underneath your sires. But if there is anything that you need outside of your sires, anything of advice or or if you wish to get together with them and learn the ways of how to be a king, you'll go to Mr. Pierce when he is available and is not engaged in duties on behalf of the city. Now, on top of the training that the two of you will be undergoing, there's one last thing I wish to announce for the both of you, Percy, Miss Marinos and Miss Polini. You will also be put underneath internships. Each one of these illustrious members of this board, myself, our prince, the harpy, the chancellor, even our lictor, has gladly volunteered themselves to basically take you on for a very temporary internship to show you what they control, to show you how it is that they became kings in their own right. Once you have successfully completed your time underneath them for your internship, they will sign off and report back to your sires to let you know whether or not if you have passed with flying colors. Each one that you pass with will determine whether or not if your sire feels that you are ready to be released by the prince. Do the two of you have any questions for me? Miss Polini.
The whole time she would have been like doing that under her breath thing to try and memorize, and then, no, I have no questions at this time.
And Miss Marinos, how about yourself? Do you have any questions for me?
Percy this entire time will have just been, politely keeping eye contact, have her head raised. So also shake her head slightly. No, sir.
He'll nod. Anything from any questions from you, Mr. Pierce?
No, sir.
Well then, go ahead and take your step back into the crowd, and let's call this meeting officially to order. I call to order the first meeting of the Philly Directorate for the month of June of 2024. I am your presiding praetor, Ansel Quirky, descendant of Hardestadt, and he will go ad nauseum at length of his actual lineage. Presiding next to me as part of management, we have Lictor Anastasia Belikova. I will now introduce you to your venerable elders In the end, all decisions that this board makes falls upon them and no further. Although this board will vote as one, ultimately, in the end, the elders here can and will veto things if they feel it is necessary. I will introduce unto you your first of the venerable elders, first to be spoken of in all instances, your Prince Sexton. Of course, next to him in this instance here, Harpy Dillard is also a venerable elder. And then finally, Mr. Hades, Artemis, you have been recently declared venerable elder for this council. Congratulations.
Thank you, Praetor.
As he kind of steps back, I am in need of an Adele to administer the meeting. Do I have any volunteers amongst the faithful assistants of this board?
Praetor, a voice will come from the larger man. I'd be happy to assist you this evening.
Well then, as I preside, you will conduct our meeting this evening, and five rather large throne-like chairs will be brought out. The biggest one looks like is the two biggest ones are for Prince Sexton and obviously for the Praetor. Some others are set out for the other members of the board. And then, of course, smaller chairs are brought out for everybody else to sit in at this instance. And the Spartan will come up front to start conducting the meeting.
So at first, he will go through and recognize each of the board members, starting with the Praetor and working in descending order, until finally getting to Percy and Songbird and introducing them. Again, with each introduction, as is Ventrue custom, going ad nauseam with the lineage. The only thing of note that I have for that is that both the Spartan Lysander and Hades mention the same bloodline down to the very sire that they share. After that, and actually with that, there's an acknowledgement of each individual's rank, all the way down from the Praetor to the Questors and everything in between. Now that we have everyone here and accounted for, we move to new business for the future of the city. Praetor, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe we had a goal and outline for the power structure and influence moving forward.
Correct. He will, as he looks towards everybody at this point, the city itself is much like a division of fiefdoms. All across the city, there are various aspects of it that we can have influence and that we can control. Now, at this moment in time, I would like a report on where our influence lies, where it is that we control, and from there, we can obviously work on where we expand. Underneath the circumstances, I know that the young may not have control over anything at this particular point. But underneath, so we will move to the first of our questors there, Mr. Pierce. Do you have any area of influence or place of control that you have settled in the city since you have come to Philadelphia?
Not as of yet, Praetor.
He'll nod in acknowledgement of that. After that, he'll move over towards Dressler in this instance. Mr. Dressler, is there anything that you would like to report in this instance? He'll stand up, he'll kind of clear his throat, and he says, I've made my ins within the harbor of Philadelphia, working amongst the docks and everything as such. I don't have a foothold, so to speak, but I have made my inroads. I've have some connections within the shipping companies, and in that regards. Very good, Mr. Dressler. As he sits down, Servire Orthea.
Praetor. As many know, I have influences in security companies and paramilitary. I've even staked a foothold for my own personal one that I have an allyship with here in Philadelphia. I've moved a company called Triple Canopy into the city to help push out competitors and ensure we have a monopoly over this, as well as some mining companies and surveyors outside the city, more closer to the mining cities and towns.
He'll nod. Mr. Artemis.
Praetor, I have some minor influence in the public works and some in the law enforcement, keeping some of the louder mistakes under wraps with both of these.
He'll nod. My prince.
The legal apparatus of our city is well and truly ours now. Everything from traffic courts on up to the DA's office itself. I have been diligent in that regard. We're also making steady inroads and should be acquiring all of the cash for gold facilities throughout the city by Q2.
He'll nod in that instance. Harpy Dillard.
Between myself and our keeper, there is very little that escapes the city without one form of spin or another. Though I suppose, to answer your direct question, I would be more in charge of, shall we say, alternative news outlets.
Excellent. Lictor Belikova.
I have the medical community, hospitals, hospices, clinics, and such, as well as investments in City Hall.
Excellent. And I, as Praetor and Primogen, I have a connection with the federal government, several individuals that are at my beck and call, as well as also a decent growth in city influence, as well as its tech industry. Take note of where your fellow king's influence lies. These are ours, our territory, our dominions, our domains. They belong to us and only us. If anybody wishes to engage with them, they come to us and you take payment for what it is that they want from you. You do not take from another Ventrue. You may share if you wish, But ultimately, in the end, what is what is another king's will always remain another king's. Take note of those places and find your niche. I notice that amongst us, we do not have a direct connection with the criminal underworld of this city. And as much as I know that we adhere to aspects of law and order, I feel that it would probably be in our best interest to wrest control of it to the best of our ability. Besides, there are many humans that are out there that would consider our mere existence to be criminals. So who best to get to know and find influence under if we in this instance here? We there's an aspect of the Toreador who have a measure of the art scene, but that art has to come from somewhere, and a lot of it involves money, banking, stocks, influence, things of that nature. Also, should be worked in to find a place to where we can get money moving from one area to another. The local police departments. Every section of Philly has some sort of police precinct. I want beat cops. I want detectives. I want police chiefs. If I say I need something to disappear, I want somebody to be able to call a local police officer and make it happen. This city will be ours completely. We will shore up its defenses and we will make it a monument to the tower.
So Dillard, at some point during this talk, is going to stand and wait to be acknowledged.
The chair recognizes Harpy Dillard.
I worry, Praetor, that there may be things that you are not quite taking into account, given your recent arrival in the city.
Oh?
Philadelphia is not a Ventrue city, Praetor. Philadelphia is a city that just happens to be run by a Ventrue. It is my recommendation to the board that perhaps we start thinking a bit less of control and conglomeration and more along the lines of cooperation in bridge building.
Praetor will lean back in his seat. Elder Hades, Prince Sexton, do you have anything to question Harpy Dillard on in this instance?
I would defer to His Grace, who may or may not be muted.
No, I actually second Edile Dillard's recommendation. The war was hard fought, and we would not have won were it not for the cooperation of those clans that found utility in fighting under my banner. And moving forward, I believe we should be more mindful about each clan's place in the city. After all, even a king must serve his people.
Elder Hades?
What the prince says is true, Praetor. This is a new city, newly wrestled from a tyrant that tarnishes the clan's name. We should invest in the welfare of the others, lest we repeat the mistakes of Hardestat.
Praetor will kind of look at everybody currently present. I'll turn to my player zone this instance here. Thomas, what do you think about this exchange that's currently going on here? What is Thomas's opinion?
Thomas still not doesn't have the whole story of the war, but considering his feelings towards the prince, is inclined to agree with him.
Okay. What about you, Songbird? What do you think about this reaching across the aisle and this sort of including the other clans and whatnot?
I would imagine this is like newer to her,
Mhm.
like compared to other meetings. She's kind of like more trying to focus on keeping up with the conversation rather than like what the conversation actually is and whatnot. And it's just kind of like, oh, I could help with that, but I could also help with that, but I could also help with that, but also trying really hard to pay attention.
Okay. And what about you, Percy? What's your opinion on the matter?
Percy is probably rather curious about learning about the city. She's finding it all interesting. And she probably agrees with the sentiments that have been put forth, though she feels like the city should be primarily Ventrue, just because she feels, she feels this clan is superior and should be leading, but the other clans are useful.
Exactly. All right. The Praetor will look towards you, Harpy Diller, and he'll say, he'll say, "Well spoken. Underneath the circumstances here, I don't per se want to shut the other clans out, but in order to be an effective pillar for this city and make sure that we have firm control and be able to defend it to the best of our ability, it would be prudent for us to shore up our anchor points and make sure that we have effective control. I still think that we can share amongst each other, but not intrude on each other. And we shouldn't take what the other clans have already earned at this point in time. But I want to make sure that Ventrue is on stable footing before we try to help them. Because, as it's been pointed out, this city has suffered underneath the Ventrue. Our position has been weakened, and we are seen as tyrants. We are seen as monsters. It would behoove us to make sure that we can prove them wrong. And we can do that by showing them that we can be strong for them and with them, arm in arm. We do not take. We do not steal. We do not, we will not fight them. We will fight with them. Reaching out across the aisle to the various, there should always be some act of diplomacy that is currently going on. Our clan, the other clans that are here are equally as pillars with us in the city. So, underneath the circumstances here, I do not see that there is a problem in the pursuit of diplomatic relations with the other clans, nor do I foresee any issue of us working alongside them when the time is necessary. And if they wish to pursue power in this city, they should not be denied it, unless it cuts into what we already control.
I would simply like to remind the board. One pillar is easily toppled. In fact, there is a gangrel gentleman who is taking a lot of control over the banks and the loan operations. Getting in with him might make getting in with a criminal element a little bit easier, considering the utility of quick change money places. Whip Toreador, that broad with the one eye. She has a handle on pretty much the entirety of the art market. At least on the up and up end of things. There is not any kind of new visual artist that pops up that woman doesn't know about. So somebody getting in close with Miss Darling might be good on the list. And as far as the medical establishment, we have a couple of doctors in the city, including one of those dragons and the Oracle. The Oracle also has her fingers on the pulse of the medical community.
I have already taken Oracle Leclerc under my wing, but I would not mind taking a dragon under it as well.
Her name is, and she's just like flipping through a notebook. Oh, his. Dr. Beck.
You'd actually find that one a fine addition. Keen mind.
Are they of the tower?
They're one of those emissaries.
I see.
But they seem pretty good about it. And of course, you can't really much blame them. It isn't as if the tower has a history of treating their kind real well.
The dragons have a history of earning such distrust. I will see about having an ally in them, but
they've also got a thin blood working for them right now, and obstetric surgeon.
There's
Point of
a deep.
clarification, if I may, Edile Dillard. Duskborn is the preferred nomenclature these nights.
Oh, okay then. So they've got a Duskborn working under their practice right now.
perhaps we should limit our allies to within the tower before we start reaching across the bridge. A deal.
And so
Whatever.
kind of. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Whatever the board decides is best.
He'll now look to the younger members at this point. Do any of you have anything that you wish to contribute in this discussion? We'll start with the youngest in this instance here. Miss Marinos, do you have anything that you'd like to contribute to the discussion?
Percy will glance slightly at Hades for a second before looking back.
She'd get a reaffirming, like, no, he asked you to talk. Go for it.
No, sir. I am simply learning and listening.
Learning and listening is important. Very important. Is there anything that you've heard here that interests you?
I still hesitate slightly, but I do have interest in the fact that we have few who control the criminal aspect of the city. I have some interest in that area.
The Praetor will smile a little bit. Thank you. Miss Marinos, you are recognized. Miss Polini, how about yourself? Do you have any opinions or thoughts on the matter at hand?
She'll stand up and make proper eye contact with. I haven't been able to network on the criminal fronts like I used to in Chicago, but I've been making rounds in the live music industries, and if we can get a footing in there, I think that would be beneficial.
Excellent. Mr. Pierce, what about you? What do you have to say in this matter?
Due to my upbringing and experience, I could reach out to local criminal elements here. My coterie also does have a doctor as well.
Interesting.
Other members might also have some ties locally that I could reach across the aisle and work with as well.
Excellent. The one thing that is a benefit, and thank you, Mr. Pierce, you are recognized as well as you, Miss Polini. The one thing that is an excellent tool of the tower is the coterie. In a mixed coterie of various clan members, you have the ability to interact with their culture, with ways of how they go about doing things. You can find yourself fast allies, or sometimes bitter rivals. But united by the laws of the coterie, as handed down by Mithras, as he'll nod it towards the prince, we work together, binding ourselves in oath, as well as also binding ourselves to the entirety of the city in this instance. Please note that Harpy Dillard is absolutely correct in her assertions. We cannot stand alone in this city. Your beast will convince you in ways to be domineering, to want to control, to be territorial. You must stay your beast. You must master it and realize that such things like territorialness, dominance, and other such things, although these are aspects of our society that we do, in fact, attempt to encourage, can cause strife amongst the entirety of the court. So, constant vigilance and, how shall I say this? Take everything gently. We must proceed with the utmost of caution, and we must be aware of our surroundings. He'll kind of sit back. Do we have a motion to carry Harpy Dillard's business in this instance here?
I move to carry.
Prince Sexton of Clan Ventrue has been recognized. Do I have a second?
Aye.
All in favor? Say aye.
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 Hi.
Aye.
Aye again.
The motion carries then. He'll sit back at this particular point. Well then, let us, as this is part of new business here, I believe this is the only new business that we currently have. Let us go to a discussion of old business for a brief moment here. We currently have on the docket Praxis. My Prince Sexton, how goeth your Praxis?
It goes well. We have been slowly and steadily through the hard work and determination of the coteries of the city. We have been cleaning up the messes of the previous management. And in that regard, I do think it is in order to offer special commendation to Mr. Pierce, Miss Polene, and Miss Marinos for their diligent work in righting the wrongs prevalent in this city.
I see. Do you feel that this is worthy of Dignitas?
I do. I do indeed.
Miss Polini, Miss Marinos, Mr. Pierce, your prince has recognized you, has recognized your deeds. As praetor, I recognize this dignitas and award it to you as thus. Congratulations.
Thank you, sirs.
Of course. Ah, yes. Is there any other old business that we need to address, Servire or Orthos?
As far as old business, no, Praetor. The new business of the assignments for the upcoming Agoges that you have announced would be next.
Thank you. I appreciate that. So, let us step forward, Miss Marinos, if you would, please.
Percy would stand and step forward with her head high.
When it comes to the Agoge, there's a great much training that your sire will put you through, which I'm sure that you've already felt the particulars of such things. Am I correct?
Yes, sir.
And in this instance here, what have you learned from your sire?
Finding my notes. I have learned much from my sire. First and foremost, of course, the 6 traditions, as every kindred said, and as well the importance of battles, both with a sword and in suits, the importance of honor and decorum.
Nods. Sounds like you've learned quite a bit.
Yes, sir.
Where would you feel that you are at your weakest?
She'll hesitate a bit as he slightly forces herself to swallow her pride a bit and takes a deep breath. In these type of settings, sir, I prefer to be in action and seeing battle.
It's understandable. You've come from a long, mighty lineage. It is by the hand of your ancient ancestor Lysander that we were able to win the day against the demonic forces of the Bruja in Carthage. It is by his sacrifice and by the sacrifice of your own goddess that that battle was won.
Yes, sir.
But you find that these moments, these social moments, when you are amongst your fellow kindred, to be where you lack.
Yes, sir. It
I see.
is not my favorite place to be.
It's understandable. Then I would say that the first place for you to begin is in a social setting. Harpy Dillard, I would like to sign Miss Marinos to you as your first intern.
Very well. There is something to be said about presentation, Miss Marinos. After all, looks are a weapon in our arsenal, and someone with looks like yours should know how to apply them.
And that will actually get a smirk out of Ansel, and he'll just kind of look over at her for a moment, and he's just like, yeah. And then he's gonna look over at the prince for a moment. But he'll look to you, Percy, and with a smile on his face, thank you, Miss Percy. You may take your seat.
Thank you, sir.
Miss Polini, if you would, please.
She'll stand up.
So, tell me, what have you learned from from those that you have taken accounting under? What have you learned of being Ventrue in the time that you have been been embraced?
Well, both of those in charge of my accounting have taught me the ways of dignitas and decorum and etiquette amongst the traditions and how to keep them and uphold them. And she'll motion to Gavin. Gavin has she wouldn't say Gavin, brain just went
Mr. Dressler.
Yes. Mr. Dressler, he has taught me how to increase and fortify myself to get tasks done, and Miss Anker has been. Thank you for the caps, because I'm blind as a bat right now. Miss Anker has taught me the ways of how to use my looks to achieve results when necessary. Maybe not in the way either of them would ideally like, but it has gotten results.
Results are important, but the one thing that we must learn is that there is an aspect of dignity that we must adhere to in our decorum. We do not lower ourselves to the standards of other clans. We are kings, after all. But we do not put ourselves on pedestals. We remember that we once were human, and now we are more than human. And we find a place where we can be who we need to be for society and take advantage of the ways that we have been trained. But tell me, Miss Polini, where would you feel that your greatest weaknesses lie?
She's going to attempt to not drop her eyes because she knows that is impolite in this setting. And she's going to take an unnecessary breath, and before my embrace, I was not as educated as those of my age, and I am aware that I am lacking in those skills. I have tried to adapt. I'm sure for those with heightened senses in the room have probably found my habit a little bit of annoying to try and retain that information. It was also probably not wise to start attempting that education on myself with the Odyssey on recommendation of the city's oracle.
He'll nod. Education is important. Retention of things is important. But everybody is smart in their own way. You're a gifted speaker. You know what to say, how to say it. You may not necessarily know all the big words, but sometimes you don't need the big words. Sometimes you can show just how smart you are with the most minuscule of sentences. Intelligence is not just book learning, Miss Polini. It's so much more than that. There are things about the street that I'm sure that you know that most others probably have no clue how exactly it works. I'm sure that you know how to sing in a way and know the scales, harmonies, that most others wouldn't ever be able to match. Intelligence is much more than just that. He'll smile and he'll say, but if you wish to educate yourself, if you wish to find ways to improve how you take in knowledge, there are ways to improve that. In this instance here, I think we will start your education with me. I will take your internship first, and we can work on that. Thank you, Miss Polini. I appreciate your efforts. Now, as you go through the internships, they will last for as long as the person that you are currently interning with, as he kind of looks to Polini and Marinos in this instance here. You will find that this could last you a month, could last a year, could even be shorter than that. It will ultimately depend upon the person that is training you in this instance here. When you are not able, and you will check in regularly with your mentor, motioning towards Pierce in this instance, as he will guide you in, as he will continue to guide you. And of course, obviously, your sires will be ever so present to go through the accounting. Once you are done with one internship and the next business meeting, you will be tested. If you succeed on the test, you'll move on to your next internship. Simple as that. Now, I wish to tantalize you with something, Miss Polini and Miss Marinos. Because in order to complete your agoge, you need to claim something. Both of you will need to claim your own domain. Your own domain with your own control, your own influences, your own allies, your own contacts. A place that is truly your own, your small fiefdom. You will have to earn it from your prince. And it will be up to him to judge on whether or not if you are successful in earning such a thing. This will take time. This will take effort. But I'm fairly certain the two of you will reach this challenge and complete it with flying colors. And when you do, whenever that may be. Your sires and those that account for you will test you again to make sure that you have earned that domain and you can keep that domain. And if you do, then you will be presented to your prince. There's no time limit on this. We are eternal creatures, and you have as long as you need to complete this. But in this instance here, he'll kind of sit back. I believe we are done with this particular portion, Servire Orthea. Is there anything else that we need to cover in this instance?
As Ryan double checks his notes. Perhaps so that we are not crossing our lines in future endeavors. Perhaps an admission of movements of each of our board members, aspirations and goals within the near future, so that we don't step on one another's toes or prevent growth of our younger members.
Of course. Ansel will kind of look back and you'll say, well, your praetor will start in this instance here. My ambition is fairly clear. Ventrue. I am here to make sure that Ventrue succeeds. That this city has a strong clan that it can rely upon to make sure each and every one of you are provided for and that you can reach the goals that you need to reach. This is the goal of the praetor, and it is also my goal as your primogen to fight on your behalf in the political arenas that need to be. These are my ambitions and these are my goals. They seem rather simple, but trust me, I will be taking them ever so seriously in this instance here. But now we'll go to our prince. My prince, do you have any goals or ambitions that you wish to share with the young ones?
My goals for this city are quite simple. Create a strong and united Philadelphia. And should any of you need any assistance in either legal matters or procurement of real estate, please do not hesitate to avail yourselves of one of my many offices.
Thank you, my prince. And you, Mr. Artemis, yourself?
My endeavors lie with building more of a foundation for our clan here, as well as overseeing the continued education of Persephone, Miss Marinos. As well as that, we are continuing to, let's say, educate anyone. I know that His Grace has a library here in the city, and I intend to gather what more we can in that area. And then if you want to do Good Day next, because I know they have a time limit.
Yep,
And
I
then
was just going to do
then we can
G'day.
take a break.
Yep. Harpy G'day, if you would, please. Or Harpy Dillard. Sorry.
Man, that's got a ring to
my
it.
My brain's a little screwy.
New server name.
I mean, while I am a bit of a harpy, just ask anyone who has to schedule with me. Dillard is just going to kind of look up. I've been doing some learning of my own. The Keeper is quite adept at various kinds of information gathering. It seems a shame we don't share many of the same abilities or resources. That kind of apparatus proves absolutely valuable. And given that the city is so bereft of the usual information gatherers, that is where my current ambitions reside.
Excellent. Thank you, Harpy Dillard. And I think at this point we are going to cut to a break.
So we'll take a 5-7 minute break, let everybody get up, stretch your legs, get some bios in there, snackies, drinks, and we will be right back. We're back.
Well, welcome back, everybody. Hopefully, everybody had a nice break and whatnot. So, where did we leave off at? I think we were basically speaking about ambitions and whatnot. As Harpy Dillard gives what she does, and she takes her seat at this instance. And so we'll look over towards the Surveyor in this instance and say, well then, Surveyor Orthea, I think you're next on the list to tell us what it is that you would like to see for the city of Philadelphia and yourself.
Praetor, my intention is perfectly clear. My concern is the physical security of the city and of the clan. Hence why I'm pouring so many resources into paramilitary and security companies to use at our beck and call. If His Grace would allow it and the board deems it worthy, perhaps looking into a more sustainable way to train the young in hand-to-hand or a weapon of sorts, as more and more things keep popping up to prove as adversaries to us these nights.
He'll nod. And so I'll look over at the prince at this recommendation.
I actually think it is a marvelous idea. After all, not every problem can be solved in a boardroom, but I think we should focus on hand-to-hand and blades, considering he will level a look at Thomas. Firearms can get so very loud. Wouldn't you agree, Mr. Pierce?
You do have a point there, Your Grace. I am more than willing to learn.
Good.
Excellent.
How about yourself there, Mr. Pierce, as we move on in this instance? What kind of ambition do you see yourself trying to achieve? What do you want to see for this city?
Well, as I am still a newcomer here, currently my focus is to find the best ways to serve the city and the best capacity that I could offer.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. He'll kind of like take a measure of Thomas in that instance. Before I move on to the fledglings, Miss Belikova, Lictor Belikova, you have been stationed in our city for some time, have done great work here. What would you see yourself wanting for this city?
My current intention is to assist the prince with further stabilization of the city. Then I will focus on my personal endeavors. As I was stationed here during the previous regime, I know what to look for when it fell. I would like to see those problems not arise again.
Excellent. Miss Polini, how about yourself? What would you want to see for this city, for yourself, and how that you grow in it?
Currently, well, not knowing everything that has happened before, but seeing how it has affected some of the older in our city that did see what an experience that I guess my current ambition is to help ease the transition, make it a little easier, make it less painful as the city grows and settles. But that just
So
might
now,
be because I'm still very close to my humanity.
he'll nod. It's very admirable. And how about yourself, Miss Marinos?
I also do not know much about the city, but I suppose I will do my best to, would like to do my best to help it grow and ensure it is kept controlled and organized so it may grow into all that it can be.
Philadelphia is one of the oldest cities on the West Coast, or on the East Coast. It has seen wars, conflicts, massive growth. It has seen recessions, depressions, the changing of power from one president to another. And it continues on. And depending on the way how things look, this city very well may be here when we are all gone. Maybe another regime rules in its place. The city in and of itself is like an entity, living and breathing with the countless mortals that live within it. And hopefully, as we continue along, that we can find a sort of symbiosis with it as best as we can. But underneath the circumstances here, I believe we are now at the end of our meeting. Surveyor Orthea, will you call our meeting to a close?
Of course, Praetor. However, His Grace did ask me to remind him that we received an important communique from another city.
Yes. Unfortunately, two of the members of our illustrious board will need to be taken into custody this evening. Miss Astor, and suddenly the name escapes me.
Goodrich.
Mr. Goodrich. After careful consulting with Prince Jackson of Chicago and learning that you are not here under his directive, I will be placing you both under arrest. Know that the prince's mercy is short these nights. So you may make it easy or you may make it difficult.
And so the Praetor will kind of narrow his eyes in this instance. Kind of look to the Surveyor, look to the Prince in this instance. And are these two individuals present at this point in time, or are they somewhere in the city? This is the storyteller asking.
No,
They would be present. I didn't get around to putting them in outfits.
Fair enough. Praetor will look to these two individuals. He'll stand up from his seat and he'll step down and he'll make his way over towards the prince. In a very low tone, he will say, "Do you have the letter upon you, my prince?"
And the prince will reach into his jacket pocket and just calmly pass the letter over to Ansel.
Ansel will take the letter He'll glance over it. Anybody who's paying attention will notice he's kind of licking his fang a little bit, or his fangs underneath his lip. And then he will fold up the letter, hand it back to you. Well, it appears to be that 2 members of this board stand accused. Violations of domain and hospitality. Surveyor Orthea, I believe you
Praetor.
are the ranking member of law enforcement in this establishment. He'll look to the 2 that stand accused. Lictor Belikova, would you please take these 2 into custody?
Belikova will approach, and she'll look from one to the other. Would you like to come with your dignity intact?
And from what I know of both of those SPCs, there would probably be some hesitation, maybe a little verbal lashback from one of them, but I think they would both go mostly without a fight. Teddy's at least not stupid.
Wise decisions.
As the 2 of them are led off by the Spartan and by the lictor, removed from the presence of the board, Ansel will once again throw another look towards the prince. The look is kind of unreadable, but there's a look of, I wish I would have gotten warning ahead of time, but he just merely nods to the prince and he'll go back to sit down. Well then, I am without my Adeli to dismiss this particular dismiss this board meeting, so I guess it'll be up to me. I will bring this meeting of the directorate to its close for June of 2024. We will meet again at the appropriate time. Invitations will be sent out to those who are in good standing with the clan. So, watch your mailboxes. As he's at this point in time, he will stand, he'll call for a motion. Whoever answers it will do so, and it is voted unanimously to end the meeting. The praetor will sigh, and then he'll look at everybody present and says, well then, I think it's time for a little bit of a social hour, shall we? And he'll snap his fingers, and several individuals will come out through from the back way carrying trays with tall flutes of what appears to be dark red liquid that is within there. And anybody with any kind of sense of smell will be able to tell that this is some sort of alchemically treated blood. Safe enough for Ventrues to drink, and with a little bit of alcohol to make maybe get a little bit of a buzz. One by one, a server will come by and offer a drink to a person. Of course, they obviously go to the prince first, proffering to him a silver tray with flutes upon it if he wishes to partake in one.
The prince would graciously decline at this moment, as he is a known teetotaler in the city.
Of course. Eventually, one will come by you, Thomas, in this instance. And as one is proffered to you, what do you do?
Thomas is going to accept, but he doesn't seem quite interested in drinking it.
Of course. Miss Polini?
She'll take one, and and she'll do the polite little like tiny sip thing that you do to not upset your host but make it look like you're taking a lot. I'm gonna nurse this one the whole night.
Fair enough. And how about you, Miss Marinos?
Percy will accept one and can more sip it more out of curiosity than anything else.
It tastes like warm, rich blood. It has a little bit of a twang to it, something that's different, but it doesn't upset your palate. If you consume the entirety of the flute, it will lower your hunger by 1.
And so
To the minimum of 1.
yeah, so also just kind of sit, just slowly sip at it.
So, as the social hour begins, we'll go to our players here. Thomas, what would you like to do in this instance? There are many new Ventrue here that you haven't talked to, and many who you haven't gotten to, and some that you need to get to know. What would Thomas like to do in this instance?
Thomas is actually going to take a moment and wander over to a window in an attempt to compose himself.
Okay.
Just kind of make it look like he's looking out over
The city?
Mm-hmm.
And how about you there, Songbird? What would you like to do in this instance?
Once she gets her drink, she's gonna go over to her sires and kind of like trying to be subtle, but like probably not being subtle on like how'd I do? Like, did I do good? Do I need to take off the blazer? Like, is the blazer too much? Is it not like enough? Like, was I okay? Like, trying to like internalize that like how'd I do, but also like, yeah.
He will Gavin will do his best to reassure Songbird. It would also probably be evident to Songbird that he's just about as nervous as she is, and also wonders whether or not if he did a good job and other things of that nature. So it's kind of like a mirror in this instance here. And seeing as it is that we do not have a Rosemary here to reassure both of
Both of the nervous beans.
The nervous beads, yes. It's a little bit of a vicious cycle. And how about you, Percy? What do you want to do in this instance?
So probably kind of look over at first Hades, and then Lysander, and kind of just remain where she is and try to look dignified and proud, even though she's slightly tugging at her suit because she's getting a bit restless. But she's trying to look. She looks over at her sire and she's trying to look all dignified.
Mm-hmm. My prince, is there anybody in particular you'd like to go and see in this instance, or are you just watching?
John is actually going to move beside Thomas, looking out over the city. Gorgeous, isn't she?
It is a different view than I am used to, my prince.
It gets to be a lonely view at the top. A lesson you should take to heart. I take no pleasure in doing what I did this evening.
I understand that it is necessary, my prince. Traditions were broken. It will be difficult to reconcile with certain convictions of mine.
He will, if permitted, put an arm around Thomas's shoulders. I look at you, Thomas, and I see a much younger version of myself. Guidance, a firm hand on the wheel is what you need. And I intend to help you in any way I can.
I believe I have found myself in the city I am meant to be in entrance.
Good.
Hades, Lysander. Anywhere that you want to go in this instance here? Well, Lysander's is
I
kind of
was gonna
currently
say,
busy.
Lysander has left the building. He is busy. But man, does he maybe have a smile on his face getting to do roughing up stuff.
Mm.
Hades will actually approach Percy, kind of doing the like hand on your shoulder, like you did good, well done. Next time, you don't have to fear the others.
Thank you, sir.
Hmm. And so we'll kind of look amongst the various members of the court, or of the Ventrue here. Kind of got a broad smile on his face. He'll walk amongst you all. He'll stop very briefly and just kind of offer head nods and whatnot. But eventually he'll stop over by where Miss Pulling, where basically Songbird and Gavin are currently at. So, Miss Polini, are you excited for for your further education?
Yes, I am, but I'm also a bit nervous.
It's understandable. Have you ever put, if there was something that you wanted to learn how to do, what do you think would be what would you want that to be?
Well, there's a lot of things. Due to circumstances, like I said, I didn't really get to learn much other than what I really learned here and how to be a good worker.
Oh, I have no doubt that you have an excellent work ethic. You do not strike me as one to be lazy in any circumstances. You know, the music scene requires a lot of things to know. How to manage your own assets, how to perhaps maybe open a club or stage one day where you yourself can perform and others may perform under various banners, perhaps maybe recording studios. There's technology that's involved, financing, managing people of that. A lot of those things are skills that can be learned from a book, but sometimes they require you to be hands on with people. He will pull out a business card and says, "This is the office that I work in here in the tech sector. When you have the opportunity and your sires are not busy teaching you and you are not busy getting to know Thomas and he is offering his mentorship to, or Mr. Pierce is not offering his mentorship to you, I will expect you to stop on by at whatever inconvenience you can, and we are going to teach you how to run an office."
Thank you, Praetor.
Well, you're welcome. Mr. Dressler, there's something I wish to speak with you about, if you don't mind. I've spoken recently with the primogen of the Tremere. There was an exchange I want to address with you. You'll see Gavin kind of nod. He's like, yeah, of course, Praetor. And he'll stand up and he'll walk off, leaving you by yourself.
Songbird would
There.
probably try to make sure none of her one superficial damage is covered. Because she still hasn't fully healed from things.
But as the primogen walks away with your sire, or your walks away with your sire, what does Songbird want to do after that?
She'll kind of look lost for a moment because Gavin and Rosemary were her safety net, and she'll probably like slowly like make her way towards Percy because that's the only other person she's like feels comfortable enough to approach at the moment. Because she knows if she goes up to the prince, she'll probably get in trouble for using a nickname on him.
Valid. At this particular point, as you're standing by the window, Prince Sexton, the Praetor will come up behind you with Mr. Dressler. He will stand patiently until there's a lull in the conversation between you and Thomas, and then he'll say, "My prince, I wish to discuss something with you that involves Mr. Dressler. May I have a moment of your time?"
Of course, of course. And he'll pat Thomas. Think about what I've said, Mr. Pierce. Enjoy your night.
Thank you.
And the Praetor will look to you and says, "Appears to be a little bit of an opening for you to go speak with the young ones, Mr. Pierce, and ingratiate yourself amongst them."
Of course, Praetor.
And as the Praetor walks off with Dressler and with Prince Sexton, does Thomas head over towards where Songbird and Percy are at?
Yes, he does.
Okay. So I will open up the conversation between the three of you in this instance here, see how this goes.
Yeah. Thomas will approach Miss Polini, Miss Marinos.
Mr. Pierce, good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Pierce.
Did well tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Pierce.
I had the pleasure of meeting Miss Marinos some weeks ago. Did not get to spend enough time to get a good measure, but I do look forward to learning about each of you.
Thank you, and I'm looking forward to learning what you can teach us.
Will admit this will be my first time. I will do my best by you. Thomas looks kind of nervous and maybe a little awkward and out of place. I heard you were also from Chicago, Miss Polini.
Yes. I recently just left that city.
I left last year.
I see. Mr. Dressler has said that you and him have worked together.
Yeah, we've had a few adventures together.
Would Songbird have heard of any of these adventures?
So your broodmate, accounting and whatnot. One of the things about Ventrue Decorumus is that you don't like crow about the things that you do when you're in front of other Ventrue. However, when you're in the privacy of your own haven and you're with your child or, different things like that, some of the rules of decorum can kind of go out the window if you're not a stickler for it. Stares at Artemis.
Listen.
But underneath the circumstances, yeah, you've probably heard about, honestly, Gavin has used the moments that he has spent working as an assassin for basically for the
For Uncle Al.
yeah, for Uncle Al, as well as the other Ventrue of the city, eliminating troublesome kindred and whatnot. And it's kind of used them as teachable moments. And there's probably been one or two instances where Thomas has kind of worked alongside Dressler in getting him close to said kindred that need to be eliminated. Because Thomas, you would know that Dressler is known as the Strix of Chicago, and that on many occasions he has been given the right of destruction by Prince Jackson to make certain kindred just disappear. But yes, go on, Miss Songbird.
She'll try and recount the stories, and Thomas would notice that, like, she's not necessarily like full on singing, but there's like a little bit of like a do 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 do, like as she's like recalling them, and she's like, "Oh, I think Mr. Dressler has mentioned a couple of your exploits while we were training, of course."
I think it'll be more beneficial to us to get to know each other in a less formal location. Thomas will pass both of them a rather kind of a scruffed up looking business card. Not terribly. The edges are a little bent, a little frayed, but we'll pass those to them whenever you need to get a hold of me.
Of course. Songbird will probably go into her giant purse, grab like a crumpled piece of paper, and write one of the 3 phone numbers, the one issued to her by the city, and hand it to him as well. I don't have business cards yet, but this will probably do for now. The reverse.
And how about you, Percy? Do you hand anything over to Thomas?
Yes, he'll probably find a paper and neatly write out her own whatever contact information and hand it over. Of course.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Sir will do for this setting.
Yeah, where we don't necessarily have to, where we can potentially bend some of the rules of decorum and whatnot.
We can discuss that when we get together. I think I'd like to be more of a relaxed setting so you are comfortable. I feel maybe you would learn better if you didn't look as uncomfortable. I apologize. I prefer a less formal setting.
Oh, I'm more just trying to make sure I follow this city's standards.
It would be evident, like, when it comes to city standards, this place is definitely nothing like Chicago. As both you and as Thomas and Songbird would very acutely realize, Prince Jackson, Horatio Ballard, and all of the Ventrue that are part of that city, the director there does things differently. I would probably also say at this point in time that the Spartan and Lictor Belikova will re-enter in at this point in time, as the Ventrue that they just bullied are now properly taken care of in this instance.
We weren't bullying. We just put them into custody.
It's fine.
We weren't bullying. We were bonding. There's
Yeah.
a difference.
Trauma bonding with blunt force trauma.
Over bullying.
Yes, of course. As the two of you enter in, you'd see that, it's currently the social hour. couple of individuals will come by with silver platters offering you flutes of, basically some blood wine at this particular point. But does the Spartan or the Spellcov want to head off in a particular direction to talk to anybody? We'll start with the Spartan first.
You know what? He's actually going to tackle with Thomas.
Okay.
Kind of sliding up in what Thomas like 6'1", 6'2", so it's like
6'1".
face to face. Yeah.
Oh, Songbird's really tiny compared to you then. She only like 5'4" with those heels on.
Pat.
Pat.
So,
Tiny.
Mr. Pierce, overseeing their progress. Good. You've made quite a name for yourself since you got here.
Well, to be honest, I think it would be good for both them and myself.
Yes, sometimes the best way to grow is to be forced to take care of somebody else. It's a good learning experience. I have faith in you. Just don't blow anything up. Or let them do it, rather.
Explosive art isn't my department.
Oh, no, I'm not worried about you. I'm more worried about Percy.
Mr.
Or
She's not sure to call you or your last name or Spartan in this moment.
Survivor or Orthos.
Survivor Orthos. Percy is actually quite capable. I've seen it firsthand, and
Oh, I do not doubt Percy's inability to do things, but my niece does have a penchant for taking after me, so best a warning.
she kind of just is like very confused on like, but I'm the one that got shot, but doesn't say that out loud.
Well, he'd insight check that, but we're not going to roll that.
What insight?
Shut up, cousin. Listen, just because, somebody gave me a bunch of extra XP to put on that character, and I didn't spend it there, doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, that's what I thought. 2 dice.
You got it. You got it.
All right, yeah, no, it's just a plain old wits roll. All right.
I see where Percy gets it from.
I was about to say,
Listen.
Songbird has higher wits insight than you.
Yeah, see?
Percy gets her lack of insight from her uncle.
And her
I am
penchant
once
for
again
violence.
asking all of you to buy more insight.
My pulse
No.
agree.
Thomas has some insight.
I intimidate people into getting the information I want, thank you.
Exactly. Why do you need to get the information yourself? You can manipulate others into giving it to you.
Hey, Percy, I got a question for you.
Mhm.
Two of them, actually. First question, do you have feral whispers?
No, I do not.
Ah, okay. What would you describe Melano's demeanor to be like?
More Ventrue than Percy is. That's for sure.
Okay. So if a dog could, we all know the kind of dog it is that Percy has. We've all seen the pictures and whatnot in this instance. And in general, those dogs can generally look very goofy looking. They got the long, sad faces. They look like little horses and whatnot. In this instance, though, as Melano just kind of looks at Percy and then looks at the Spartan, just kind of does this like back and forth for a moment or two. If a dog could shake its head in disappointment, it would.
Well, you know what? Nobody asked that dog now, did they?
You're just mad you're getting judged by a dog again.
A dog that gets easily distracted by squirrels.
Exactly.
Oh, it's
I
like
was
3
about-
generations of the same person.
Pelino might smell the wasabi peas in my bag.
Actually,
Hilda.
probably at this particular point, and wrinkle their long nose at it because wasabi peas, I mean, as good as they are for rats, dogs not so much. Probably avoiding Songbird at this point.
Well,
Especially spoiled Ventrue dogs who probably get the finest of raw feed.
Yes, most definitely. Although Melina will come up over towards Thomas in this instance. So you've got this. What's the name of the dog again? What's the name of the dog breed again?
Borzar.
Boardsar. So, you got this dog that comes up to you, long nose, long body. She is gorgeous, by the way. Like, coat's very well taken care of, beautifully coiffed. And, the dog is very well taken care of, probably goes through like nearly weekly spa treatments at some point. So, they get the little paw scrubbies and, gets all the little extra fur taken care of and whatnot. The dog will come up to you and just kind of like look up at you for a moment or two, just kind of studies you for a second. What does Thomas do when the dog stares at them?
Thomas is just gonna look down. Remember the dog from the delivery mission and how it was in his car, and just kind of look at Percy, and that is a very lovely dog you have.
And Percy will smile and say, Melino, sit.
Melina will sit, but continue to stare at Thomas. Thomas, how you doing on the inside right now? How you feeling in this moment as you are underneath the scrutiny, like underneath the the several gazes of like the Spartan, the fledglings, and this dog?
Internally, Thomas is conflicted. On the one hand, he is quite ecstatic that Miss Astor is being taken care of. But on the other hand of that, Mr. Goodrich being his half brother, he is quite concerned about what will happen to him. And still dealing with his earlier mishap.
Does Thomas feel inclined to perhaps maybe speak with the prince privately, or maybe the Primogen privately, about the fate of Teddy?
He does, but he knows the traditions, and he doesn't think anything he says will have an effect, so he is very hesitant.
Interesting. So, as this, kind of, as you guys are sitting there and, kind of like, one of the things that happens in a lot of these social hours is, people kind of like make small talk, but this is Ventrue small talk, which is smaller than small in most cases. Miss Belikova, since you're kind of lurking around in the background, is there anybody in particular that she reaches out to speak with or pay attention to in this instance?
Belikova would actually approach Louisa. There are very passing nods to Thomas and Persephone as she passes them. Miss Paulini.
Lictor Belikova.
I must give my compliments to your sires. You have very good courtly etiquette, especially for one of your age.
Thank you. They have worked hard to help me retain it.
And you seem to do quite well in social situations.
It's where I find myself most comfortable. Well, one of the places I find myself most comfortable.
Where would you usually find yourself comfortable as far as social? I know that our praetor has taken you under his wing, but I am curious.
Well, usually where the music is. Back in Chicago, I used to be a lounge singer, and I quite enjoyed the atmosphere.
Interesting. You know, I do believe there is a hole, and not just Ventrue influence, but kindred influence as a whole within the music scene of Philadelphia. Perhaps you can fill it.
I was actually hoping to speak to, and she'll stop herself from saying Il Principe. Like you'll all catch her like stop herself. Speaking to the prince about obtaining a place to open up my own.
Well, there is no time like the present, Miss Bolene. And she will kind of put a hand at the small of her, like the air near the small of her back, and look to Gavin to see if it's okay if she escorts Bolene.
Gavin, who's currently at the edge of the conversation that's going on between Ansel and the prince, he'll kind of like nod in that instance of assent for the lictor to do as she pleases.
Once he is done having his conversation with Ansel and the prince, Anastasia will catch Prince Sexton's eye and give a respectful nod. My prince.
So good to see you again, Lictor.
It is good to see you as well. You have settled well into the dais of the throne.
I could not have done it without my clan's support.
A Ventrue is never a Ventrue alone. Speaking of, she kind of ushers Bolene forward a little bit.
Prince Sexton, and she'll make the proper eye contact and then bow her head.
The prince will maintain the eye contact, dip his chin. Miss Polini, what is it that I can do for you?
Well, the lictor here was asking me about where I feel most comfortable socially, and we got into a discussion about music, and I mentioned that I was looking to potentially open my own establishment one day, and, well, you mentioned if we were looking for properties to potentially talk to you about it.
Of course, of course. Did you already have somewhere in mind, or were you looking to scout locations first?
I had an idea of a type of location, but not exactly where yet, and she'll glance over to Gavin and Rosemary to make sure neither of them are in earshot.
Gavin is currently nearby the window, and Rosemary is currently not present.
Okay. Preferably a place along the river, and one large enough where we can offer other recreational activities.
And he'll reach into one of the pockets of his waistcoat and produce a very simple white card that has what looks to be a black North Star on it. It reads Polaris Holdings and a phone number. Call this number, and we will get you squared away with property that should fit your needs.
Of course. Thank you. And she looks a little bit like surprised by this because she's like, I am broke as shit.
As Lictor Belikova so eloquently put it, a Ventrue is never a Ventrue alone. It is incumbent on your prince to look out for those of his clan. And he'll reach out and tap the card. Just call the number, and if there's anything that needs to be done in excess of finding a property, I'm sure we can work something out with your sires or yourself, should the need arise.
Thank you. Part of it is more of a surprise.
No. It's quite all right. I'll keep things under my hat.
Thank you, my prince, and she'll bow deeply to him. And she'll have a really big smile.
Tonight you would notice that unlike your first meeting with the prince, John is blushed. His cheeks are a little on the rosier side, a little fuller. He looks almost alive. Almost.
How hungry are you tonight, Prince?
He's still at Hunger 3.
Noted.
And he gives a soft smile to Louisa. Is there anything else I can do for you this evening, Miss Pelene?
I believe that is it, but and she'll look a little nervous to address this because she doesn't know anything about Ramadan. I've come to understand that you are one of our clan that has a particular religious belief, and I hope that your fast continues to go well.
That was very kind of you, Miss Pelene. The blood equinox is not without its challenges, but in Mithras we trust. His strength flows through our veins. It goes well.
Well, I'm glad to hear. But I feel that's part of most religious beliefs if we don't have things that challenge us. And she would have had her cross tucked in case anyone had that flaw, but her cornicello would have still been out.
Faith is so very important, both to the mortals and to us. It is a test of both character and belief.
Indeed, it is. It's also just quite fascinating to see how people interpret those beliefs, both mortal and amongst other kindred.
Perhaps if you'd like to have a more in-depth conversation, you can speak to your sires or your shadow, and we can work something out. Perhaps a meeting at the library. Rowan has taken a shine to some of the younger members of the city already.
Yes, Oracle Leclerc has recommended going to the library and seeing if they may have audiobooks on some of their readings. Recommended me go ask Mr. Rowan about it.
Good. Good.
Maybe something easier to read than the Odyssey.
I'm sure we can accommodate you, Miss Polini.
Thank you, my prince. And she'll bow her head. She's like, I don't know how much longer I'm allowed to talk to the prince. This is longer than I anticipated. If my palms could get sweaty, they probably would be.
Anastasia will give a nod, another respectful nod. As always, we appreciate your time. I do always appreciate that we share a mindset. The young lead. They run further ahead so that we may walk behind them. I look forward to seeing how you do, Miss Bolena.
Thank you, Lecter.
As this conversation gets to its point, Thomas, I actually noticed that over by the window where Gavin is currently at, he kind of nods at you, kind of makes a motion like, come on over.
Thomas will head over.
So you head over. Dressler will proffer a hand to you. Long time no see, friend. How have you been?
Oh, has its highs and lows.
Understandable. Astor and what was the other person's last name again?
Goodrich.
Goodrich, right. Astor and Goodrich. Haven't seen those two since I left a little while back. May I follow you all the way out here?
Did. Miss Astor seems to have an axe to grind.
Yeah, so I heard. Sucks. Looks like it's going to be resolved now. At least won't have to worry about that.
I just wish Mr. Goodrich wasn't involved.
That's understandable. Why did you come out here in the first place, do you know?
Why did he?
Yeah.
I believe Miss Astor misled him.
Well, underneath the circumstances, sometimes ignorance can't be an excuse, but somebody with an axe to grind, they'll throw anybody under the bus they can underneath this, with that.
It wouldn't be above her to do so.
Yeah, she struck me as being a bit, well, words that I can't say in polite company. He'll smile.
Thomas has returned his smile. Tamely, I would say she's a bit on the obsessive side. Perhaps she's spent too much time hanging out with the roses.
Oh, yeah. Well, underneath the circumstances, I hope it works out for Goodrich. He's good people.
He
Misguided.
is currently misguided, but he had far more potential than I did. It would be a
I don't
shame
know.
for the clan.
I remember our get-togethers. He always impressed me. He'll kind of, like, the way how he turns, he somewhat kind of, like, puts himself against the window of the, that just kind of overlooks the city. And he says, talent recognizes talent. Underneath the circumstances, you had a lot to learn back then. Probably still have a lot to learn now, but you're learning, and that's the difference. Some people, they think they know everything, and then when they find out that they don't know how to learn it. So, at least that's been my experience in most things. But underneath the circumstances, Goodrich, he's Hardestat, isn't he?
He is.
He'll kind of look over at the Primogen. Primogen Quirky, he's Hardestat, isn't he?
I believe so.
He'll kind of look and says, maybe a conversation with him and the prince. See what you can do about easing a burden on Goodrich. He probably should still be punished, but underneath the circumstances, might be a sign of good faith.
Yeah, I would certainly prefer that final death not be his punishment. If I could think of a way to lessen that, I would prefer that.
I think I got an idea. Come on, let's go talk to the Primogen real quick.
Thomas is gonna nod.
Dressler will get away from the window and he'll kind of walk you across the way towards where the Primogen is at. Primogen Quirky is currently nearby the piano, and he puts a finger to one of the keys and it kind of rings out across the room. Nice C chord that he hits. Out of the corner of his eye, he'll see you and Dressler approaching, and he'll turn to address the both of you. Nice smile on his face, steady eyes as he looks both of you in your eyes. And as he acknowledges the both of you, Dressler will say, Primogen Quirky, you got a moment for us? And Quirky will look between the two of you. Well, I have more than a couple of moments. What can I do for the two of you? Dressler will look to you, and then he'll look back. This recent letter that got read about Goodrich and Astor? Yes. Goodrich, I know him, and as I'm probably sure you're aware of, he knows as well. He's a misguided fool. But he has potential. Great potential. Could very well be something. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe it might be within your ability to speak with our prince. Maybe find something. Ansel will kind of look to you. Well, he'll look at Dressler, and then he'll look to you, Thomas. Oh, Mr. Pierce. What do you think? You think he's actually worth saving?
He is my half-brother, and I have been everything for him. More than just his brother. I was his mother and his father. He is important to me. He is also a credit to our clan, and him being misled by Miss Astor is a waste for our clan's future.
And Dressler will look and says, and I'm not sure if you're aware, Primogen Quirky, he is Hardestat. I know that we are to be united and strong as an entirety of a clan, but he is of your lineage. Primogen will look and he says, hold that thought, if you would please, Mr. Pierce. He'll step away at this particular moment, and he will walk over towards where the prince is currently at. As he's doing so, Percy, what you up to right now?
And Percy is probably got Melano back over to her. near her chair, put her in a little heel, let her hang out,
Mhm.
and for the most part has just kind of been listening, trying not to think about the fact that he wants out of this little suit that she's wearing and
Mm.
back into her comfortable, not fancy clothes.
Absolutely. You know, since the beginning, how's like now that it's all said and done with, you've gone through the meeting, you're kind of going through this social hour here. What is Percy really honestly thinking about her clan and the way how that they interact with each other, the way how they comport themselves and everything?
Hmm. Then not what she quite expected, mainly because many of them are quite different from Hades. Not that it's a bad thing; it's just they're different.
Mm-hmm.
Um, she is seeing some. She's feeling rather proud of herself for her gaining more dignitas, feeling an urge to continue to prove herself, and kind of eyeing her where her opportunities lie.
Hmm.
She's quite eyeing the whole thing about the criminal world not having much of a domain, and the fact that the fledglings have been assigned to find a domain and is currently probably thinking about that in the back of her mind.
Hmm. There's and due to the fact of the matter that we kind of have an idea of the rarefied palate, the taste that it is that Percy feeds on, that aspect of taking dominion over this, what's it really about for Percy? What does she really want from that? Is it just a herd to hunt from? Is it an army to control? Or is it to bring order to chaos?
I think a combination of those. She views it as a combination of a herd and also a sort of army, and given her conviction, an opportunity to bring some order to the world.
Hmm.
So her leadership ability.
Hmm. I noticed that Percy only has one conviction.
Yeah.
Do you feel that's always? Do you feel that's in the time that you've spent here in Philly, getting to know your new fellow fledglings and everything that you've gone on? You ever feel like that maybe something grows within Percy in that regard? Something that might be easier, that might be just as easy to latch on to? Anything new or shiny?
I think, I mean, given the topic did somewhat skew towards religious beliefs in with
Mm-hmm.
Songbird talking with the prince and stuff, that is something Percy has, as much as he does view the prince in a positive light, he thinks the prince is quite impressive. I mean, he apparently went through a war. That's pretty cool. He is like,
Oh no.
apparently he is not of the same religious belief, and
Hmm.
he is not swayed by his belief. She is still quite firmly.
Hmm.
She's
When it comes down to it, her sire, Artemis, He's the one that has been teaching her about being a spear, right? Or at least teaching about the goddess that she descends from, correct?
Mm-hmm.
But does she really truly see Hades as a good guidepost for what it means to be a spear of Orthea?
To some extent, although she would not admit it to him, but she does kind of look more towards a certain Spartan as her personal guide, but definitely would not be telling her sire that.
Of course. So, a personal guide, maybe even a little bit of a patron saint.
Yeah.
Does Here's a question I have for Percy. Last question in this along this line. Does Percy think that the Spartan knows this? Like, does her uncle Lysander know this? And does Percy want him to know this? Like, is Percy ever feel that this is something that she wants him to know about how much she admires him?
I think that's a bit of a complicated question because she does feel like he should know of her admiration, but also feels that might be showing a little bit too much, for lack of a better term, emotion.
Interesting. Melano, and right now, what kind of outward demeanor would you think that Percy's currently putting on display, and how's her body language right now?
I think she definitely has her head, her chin up, sitting very straight, hoping that she's exuding confidence. Maybe, I mean, given her lack of insight, probably exuding more tension than she means to. But also, she's pretty good at manipulation and subterfuge, so.
My prince, how observant are you being tonight?
The prince is constantly casting his eyes around the room.
It'd be very evident that the prince would catch on to the tension, but yet the displays of pride that Percy is putting on there in that instance. The fact of the matter that her eyes are cunning and seemingly taking in a lot of information, but at the same time, there is something brewing there. And before before the Primogen comes over to speak to you, does Prince want to take an opportunity to speak with Percy?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Oh boy.
And the prince is going to take a few, well, short for him, strides. The man is, after all, big as all outdoors. Miss Marinos, how are we this evening?
I am well, Prince Sexton.
Good, good. And how are you finding the evening so far?
There is much to learn, Prince. It is a unique situation.
Yes. Philadelphia is fertile ground. A place that we have worked very hard to properly till. to work free the stones and cast them to the side. So tell me, where do you see yourself growing in this city?
I think I would like to bring a certain level of order, or perhaps more control, to the criminal element.
Order is a good thing to strive for. May I ask you a deeper question, Miss Marinos?
You may, Prince.
What do you think makes a good king?
Strength, courage.
Strength. Prince William Biddle was strong. Of course, it took a Ventrue upstart to dethrone him and plunge the city into chaos. Before him, we had another prince who was courageous, lost her head to the Sabbat. It takes a careful hand, Miss Marinos, and constant vigilance. You must not only know which way the wind blows, but know how to make the wind blow in the direction you see fit.
Did you catch that part, Percy?
Most of it. Just
Where'd we lose you?
what if whatever the last part that she needed to that if there was a question of response.
Just that you need to not only pay attention to which way the wind blows, but to know how to make the wind blow in the direction you wish it.
All right. She will nod. I believe I can at least, if not at least learn to be vigilant.
So as this gets to this particular point, Prince, you will see Primogen Quirky make his way up towards you. He'll give you a polite head nod. Hi, Prince. I need to speak with you on a matter with Mr. Pierce, if you have a moment.
Of course. Enjoy the rest of your evening, Miss Marinos. I'll be watching your career with great enthusiasm. And he'll turn and softly click away.
So in this instance, my prince, you are led over towards where Mr. Pierce is standing next to Mr. Dressler. They're off in a farther corner of the Pyramid Club where there's not a lot of prying ears. This Primogen Quirky leads you up to them. I would imagine that Mr. Pierce acknowledges the prince as well as Mr. Dressler in this instance. And upon acknowledgement, the Primogen will turn to you and he will say the following. My prince, I have a couple of... This is more clan business on the political sense than in the sense of our normal board in the normal board aspect. It appears to be that our Mr. Pierce here, Mr. Dressler, have voiced a desire to speak to you on behalf of Mr. Goodrich. As it is that he is not a member of the city. He's not properly announced, nor has he taken the oath under us, but he is a member of the Oath of the Tower. And he is one of my lineage. Not one that I claim directly, but one that is a distant cousin. I'd like to take an opportunity to, well, if you would allow an opportunity to maybe change the outcome and the fate of the stars of this man.
Very well. You have my ear.
He'll step aside. Sir Fleur, Mr. Pierce.
My prince, I am well aware that breaking of the traditions require punishment, and I do agree that Mr. Goodrich deserves punishment for his transgressions. I merely ask that it is not to the level of final death. He is of my blood. He is my brother. He has a lot of potential. I think it would be a waste to our clan's future if he was punished severely.
Mr. Pierce, these are not the days of the dark medieval. We do not simply execute members of the clan for these kinds of transgressions. However, your brother made a mockery of my city, my praxis. Perhaps now is not the best time for us to discuss the particulars of his fate. Perhaps you will join me on the solstice, and we can more adequately discuss what can be done.
I understand, my prince. I apologize. He is quite dear to me, so I sometimes jump to the worst conclusions.
No, my boy, it's understandable. After all, family is everything. But we must very carefully measure who it is we call family. I would hate to see you led down a dark road by well-meaning but short-sighted individuals.
I understand that, sir.
But I am not without my mercy. He will remain in custody until we have had a chance to more properly discuss these matters. Tonight is a night for celebration. You have recently been promoted.
Yes, and I am quite grateful for that opportunity.
Primogen will say in that moment, "You have not disappointed so far. We've heard great many things about you as as your time in Philly has evolved. I hope that we'll hear a great many more things. I do have a question for you, if you don't mind answering.
Of
And
course.
perhaps maybe the prince would be curious about this too as well. Um, how has your search for your sire gone?"
I now have suspicions that the cult that has been causing trouble in the city has likely taken him. It
Huh.
was mentioned the blood most potent, and considering our lineage, my prince, that does make sense to me.
Hmm. Hmm. I see. This is troubling.
Is this something you're planning on handling with your coterie or something that you're handling on your own?
It has been something we have been working together on.
I see. Well then, I hope those endeavors go well for you in this instance here. If there's anything that that the management or the board of directors can do in assisting, please do not hesitate to ask. Your sire is Ventrue just as much as you are, and no Ventrue ever gets left behind in this city.
Of course, Primogen. It is reassuring that I have at least gotten some lead now.
I can imagine so. He'll kind of look and he says, "I have a conversation I need to have with the prince privately, if you do not mind, Mr. Dressler, Mr. Pierce. But I hope that the rest of your evening goes well.
Of course.
And as you are heading away with Dressler, and he just he gives you that look of like, that went well. Like, not actually like holding up his thumbs and doing this, but he's just like, oh wow, that actually went better than I thought it did.
No,
Dressler,
I just picture him in the corner being like,
uh-huh. But Dressler he'll look over towards you and he'll be like, "By the way, you ever want to hang out sometime? Shoot me a line. I'd be more than happy to hang out with somebody that knows the old roads and songs back home."
Perhaps not nearly as violent as we were.
Oh God, no. I got he kind of motions over towards Songbird and says, "I got a little one to watch out for. By the way, keep an eye on her for me when I'm not around."
That's my intent. He seems a good kid.
She is. By the way, if you're around her, I got something I need to ask you about. She ever mentions her sire Luca? You remember that bastard?
Luca.
Yeah. She mentions him. You ever hear her talking about him, or basically she gets a call from him when she's not around us? You let me know, please.
Of course. There are ways to distract.
Yeah. Also,
Pretty
you ever
busy.
see any of his people?
Mhm.
I'm pretty sure you I'm sure you'll probably remember them. Let me know.
Of course. As still think I got your number.
I think I may change to a new one. He'll pull out a card and hand it to you. Anyway, it's good catching up with you. I'm gonna go round up a little songbird and head out for the night. And on that note, he'll kind of give you a nice firm handshake, then walk off at that point.
Mm-hmm.
What does Thomas do after that?
Thomas is probably going to set down his glass that he hasn't really touched. He might put himself in a position where he can kind of watch Louisa and Percy, see how they interact, and
Okay. Louisa, what have you been doing since the prince kind of walked away, and it's just been kind of you nearby Percy in this instance? Give you a little time to interact.
So yeah, she's just kind of been like a little bit giddier now that like step 1 of her top secret plan is like in motion. Listen, you're gonna love it. It's fine.
Mm-hmm.
And then she'll kind of go over to Percy and just be like, how are you holding up? And like she'll be like, I know this is probably not like you don't want me to call you by your last name, so she's just gonna like whisper Percy.
Test. Okay,
There you
There
are.
you go.
For some reason, my mic wasn't registering. Percy will nod slightly. I'm fine.
Are you? Because you kind of look like it's if we put a cone on Melano, but made it human shaped.
This is not my favorite kind of setting.
That's fair.
But it's a necessity.
Yeah.
And I will do what I must.
And she'll floof her large paluzzo pants a little bit. Well, thankfully it's not like this every night, right? Oh, did we lose Percy again?
Ink.
Oh no.
I think Ink is Lasombering.
Okay. Why don't we say that y'all continue the night having your conversation?
And I'll put it in a text thread with Percy.
That's
Eventually
fine.
disperse with your sires, probably texting each other on your ways home. Or most likely
absolutely.
Louisa texting Percy, and Percy occasionally sending back emojis.
The one-word response to every paragraph Songbird writes.
Alrighty then. So yeah, I think we can bring ourselves to a very inevitable conclusion. You all will say your goodbyes, get your acknowledgments, and start with the filing out at this particular point. You'll join up with either with Gavin or with Hades. You'll head out. Thomas, I'm assuming you'll probably be catching an Uber for yourself in order to.
Yeah.
No nonsense. The Servire will take him home.
Will
I
you
mean,
deny the succor that's the succor that's offered to you by the Servire?
yeah, he'd be all right with the Survivor taking him, while having some envy that, you know, the Survivor's car is working properly and his is not.
I mean, that's completely valid. So, one by one, you guys will get back to your havens, to your places of safety and solitude. You'll be able to sit and kind of process the remainder of your night, what it is that you experienced, and really take in the changes that are going to be down the road, the goals that you're going to chase after, and how you will interact with your clan from there. There's excitement, there's tension, there's a lot of various issues that are going to be there. But ultimately, in the end, there's a big, there's something big coming for all of you in the city of brotherly love. And as we fade in on our players and they go about their evenings, we'll cut back to the Pyramid Club. And in that moment, there will be two individuals staring out over the city by themselves. Prince, Sexton, and Persian Quirky. The city is alight. Cars drive around, people busying themselves. You are so high up that they are merely ants. Primogen will kind of look out onto the city. My prince, are you planning on holding a bull hunt?
There will be a sidelong glance from the prince. It is not normally customary to discuss such things outside of the faith, but given your exceptional job in being the rudder that this clan needs, I will offer you an indulgence. Yes, it is in fact my intention to hold a hunt to mark the solstice.
He'll nod. May I speak freely to you, my prince?
And he'll cast his eyes around the club. Please, I'd like to know your thoughts.
I'm worried. A bull hunt is very, say, interesting tradition amongst your faith. One that I've read about. I don't understand it from the perspective of participation, the emotions, or the aspects of what it is that is believed to transpire during it. I know merely the mechanics of it all. And I happen to notice that we have two wayward Ventrues now currently acquired in our city. I'm not one to judge. It's not my place. But I am worried, my prince. I do not wish for there to be ill relations between us in Chicago. And although I am fairly certain that Prince Jackson is true to his word to allow us to do what we will in order to enforce our own borders and domains, I'm not sure whether or not if it is in our best interest to utilize them for such a thing.
Then let me say this. Primogen.
Please.
I will do whatever is necessary to see this city thrive. If Chicago has washed their hands of them, perhaps there is a different path that can be taken. More than that, unfortunately, I cannot say, as regrettably, you are not of the faith.
He'll motion. He'll say, "Of course, I would never ask of the secrets of Mithraean's secrets. That is uncouth."
Your decorum in all things is appreciated, Ansel. And you'll see this small smile form across John's face. Just know that whatever I do for the greater good of the city, not for my own means.
He nods. I trust you in this one, my prince. Not because I have to, not because there's some sort of compulsion. I trust you because this city is hard won. One that, and the effort that was put in to acquire it, I know that you won't waste that potential. Not for yourself, not for any of your constituents, and not for this clan. But you will have enemies and people that will see what it is that you have done. You will be feared. Because they'll wonder next whether or not if they will be added to the hunt in future blood solstices. I don't think you would do that. I'd like to think that you are far more human than that. But I'd rather not see this city try to make a monster out of you, if I can.
We shall see. We sacrificed much to win this city. And if I must, I will sacrifice more to keep it safe. It is not our place to one day sit under our own vine and fig tree. We plant seeds for gardens we will never get to enjoy.
He'll nod. Quite the poetic word there. So tell me, my prince, what have you thought about your first board meeting here for the city?
It was well conducted.
Hmm.
It was everything I expected from the Ventrue of Philadelphia.
You've done us proud tonight. Although I will have to say, and keep this between us, my prince, I might throw the harpy out the window one of these times.
She has her uses.
I know.
Trust me. It was not
I would just like to see if she could fly.
Oh, I'm sure if she believes hard enough, anything's possible.
She
If
is a
there's-
lovely woman, though.
Oh, yes, a lovely woman.
Wow. Do you need an escort downstairs, my prince?
No. I think I'll stay here for a moment and just... He looks out over the city. Let time pass.
Indeed. He will turn on his heels. He'll walk away. As he does so, he'll kind of stop by the elevator bank where currently a Spartan stands vigilant. Mr. Orthea, our Servitor Orthea.
Praetor.
Thank you for your assistance. Hopefully one of these nights I'll be able to ascend Mr. Pierce high enough to where he can be the assistant for the board and call out the minutes and the hours and the and things, so that you do not have to spend your time doing things that I know that you dread.
It is a test of will, nonetheless, which is a test of who I am. And as for Mr. Pierce, I think it's interesting to put him into the fire.
I agree.
As one to speak, it will either forge him or destroy him.
Let's hope he gets forged into something that's worthwhile.
We wouldn't want to waste resources.
Absolutely. Speaking of resources, you have some very interesting ones I think you and I need to speak about, especially with the mining companies that you work with. As part of the tech industry, I'm always interested in things that can help with microprocessors and whatnot. I think we have some interesting business relations we can work together with.
I look forward to that.
Exactly. He'll offer his hand, but instead of giving you a handshake, he will grasp your arm. Ve victus.
Ve victus, Praetor.
He will nod and he will step out, and as the door opens to the elevator bank, the lictor will be standing there. Miss Belikova.
Praetor?
As the door closes and it starts to go downstairs, you need to send a message to the Everett. Do you have
Yes.
a courier?
I do.
Good. I'll have a letter ready for you for the following night.
Of course, Praetor.
So what do you think of this city?
I think that the best kind of growth comes from recently burned land.
Agreed. Now it's time for us to till the soil and see what grows.
Indeed.
And make sure that if there's any weeds that grow heads, that they are plucked immediately.
I was thinking the same line.
It's good to be working with you again, Miss Belikova.
Always, Mr. Quirky.
And on that note, as the scene fades, we have a prince watching over his city. We have a Spartan that stands vigilant and tall. We have a lictor who looks out for the weeds. And we have our players, our dear sweet Ventrue, making their way into the city, finding and making claimant on what they can. I think we can bring this session to its inevitable close.
Before we completely close the curtain, there is one role we need to end the night with.
That is definitely true, and I will let his storyteller handle that.
Mr. Pierce, with our messy morning we had, we acquired something that we need to resolve before he beds down. So, that will be the remaining unchecked boxes. So, two dice from your humanity.
Okay.
Because you don't roll the whole humanity. You only
Okay.
roll what's not filled in.
Okay.
So you're going to roll those two, and you just need one success.
Okay.
Wow.
Whew, man. I think this is
Okay.
accurate with how Thomas's headspace was explained. That now that he is away from everybody and kind of able to take that mask down, it is just horrid self-hate about what he
For
did this evening.
for context for the stream, he got 2 criticals. He got
That's
2 tens
criticals.
on his. He got 2 tens on his remorse roll.
Mm-hmm. I don't think I've ever seen a crit on a remorse roll before, so that's a first. But yeah, no, Thomas will remove the stain. He feels bad about killing the individual he killed this evening, and we'll see what the future has in store for him. But as for everything else, let's give a big round of applause to our buddy Kozin who stepped in for us this evening. It is amazing. He is a wonderful storyteller. We love having him on the team. He is an encyclopedia of lore and knowledge. We'd be lost without him. But that's it for tonight. Our channel will be back this weekend, actually, with a Praetorian or Seneschal board mission. So that will be happening at 7 p.m. EST Saturday night. Come back and check that out. If you haven't seen us on TikTok at Philly by Night, go out and check out our YouTube channel at Philadelphia by Night, where all of these videos get put up after they're done on Twitch. But it's been lovely having you. It's been lovely hanging out with these people and these players, and we will see you all later.